Hi, and thank you for listening. This is Sherry Andrea. Thank you for joining me again. Thank you for listening. Please remember to subscribe and like, and if you can, share. Okay, so let me just say before we get started, thank you again for being patient with me. I haven't worked out my technical difficulties with doing like an actual real video showing myself because my computer doesn't seem to want to run it. It overheats and shuts down. So for right now, that's why I'm still doing these audio only videos. So please bear with me. I will figure it out eventually what I need to do, or if I need to get a new computer. Okay, so what this video is going to be about, this video is about the real keys to manifesting your higher self. But even more than that, there is manifesting your higher self and tapping into it, being able to hear it versus hearing your negative ego. Okay, there is that. And then there is when you actually want to merge with your higher self, when you want to actually become in this lifetime more of your higher self and less of your lesser self. Okay, imagine this. I'm going to try to use this example so that you can understand what I'm talking about. Okay, there is you in the body, and then there's who your true self is. If you were just a spirit, not in a body, you would be your higher self. Your higher self is, in fact, you. Your higher self does know everything. Your higher self knows everything, has, all knowledge, all understanding, knows everything. It knows everything about you, knows everything about everything else. Okay, so there is such a thing as merging with your higher self, and that is when you want to exist in life in the body as your higher self versus your lesser self. And by lesser self, what I mean is when you incarnate and you go from being just a spirit, just a ball of light, to actually having a body, that body has ego. That's the one thing anyone that is in a body has, is ego. And when you want to be living your life as the higher self versus the ego self, that is when we call that merging with the higher self. Okay, one is very easy and very simple to do, and anyone can do it right away, and that would be if you just want to be able to tap into your higher self. If you just want to be able to get guidance from your higher self, hear your higher self, that's fairly easy to attain. That's a matter of spending time talking to your higher self, learning to distinguish between the things that you hear and thoughts that come into your mind, learning to distinguish what's your higher self and what is not. Okay, so that attaining that is actually fairly easy. It just takes time. Time of you paying attention. Okay, now the other one that I mentioned, actually merging with your higher self so that you're living life as more of your higher self and less of your lesser self, or maybe totally you're living life as completely just your higher self, meaning ego is not able to rise to the surface. You've totally taken control. And now the ego is it's still there. There is no such thing as getting rid of ego, getting rid of negative ego. There is controlling it. There is a getting it to stay subservient to the higher self, so that the higher self always takes precedence and has that dominance. Okay. So, The thing is that you may question is, and I wanted to make sure that I talk about this because I'm not really sure if I've done in the past a great job at telling you about, well, the benefits. Why would you want to do this? What's the difference? Why does it matter? Does it matter? I will let you determine for your own self whether it matters to you or not. That's not something I'm going to tell you. I'll let you determine that, but I can tell you what some of the benefits are, and I'm not telling you this from having read it somewhere, because there are many people right now, on the internet and websites, Facebook posts, YouTube videos that are always talking about the higher self now. I remember, and I want to say, I try to remember the time frames, but let's say 10 to 13 years ago, somewhere around there, when I had merged with my higher self, and I used to talk about it a lot. Back then, no one was talking about the higher self. No one knew what that was back then. Often when I would talk about it with people, it would be like, well, what's that? And really no one understood it. Well, I understood it. The reason why, though, is I actually took a year to research and find the keys. So you got to understand, all these people who are out there right now talking about the higher self and everything, they're basically regurgitating some of the things they heard, but they actually don't have like this in-depth knowledge and understanding, because many of them still actually adequately don't know what it is. It does take a while to research it, to find the true knowledge that's out there that would teach you about it and tell you how to do it. And I'm talking about true knowledge that was, that has, how can I say, that comes from ancient times and ancient civilizations. So it takes a while to find that information. It is also referred to the merging of the three selves. Now, if you go to search the merging of the three selves, I know about 10 to 13 years ago, if you would search for that phrase, you would find nothing. If you would go to the bookstores, you would find nothing. Now, I don't know about nowadays. I haven't searched it recently, but that's what it's actually called. And in some ancient texts, that's how they referred to it, is the merging of the three selves. And by the three selves, they were talking about the lesser self, the higher self, and the God self. So a true merging with the higher self, actually what it does is it merges the three selves all together. So you are not only existing as your higher self, you're also existing as your God self. Okay, now, like I said, I wanted to tell you, why would you want to do this? What are the benefits of this? This is how I can tell who's truly merged with their higher self that's talking about it and who's not. And majority of the people who are talking and teaching this are actually not merged with their higher selves. Why? Because if they were, they would have, one of the things they would have is they would have the power of manifestation, because in being fully merged with the higher self, you would also be merged with your God self. And your God self, the feminine aspect, is the creator self. And the creator self can manifest quite easily. Why? Because it is your God self. It is understanding that you and God are one. So if you understand the concept of oneness, then what I'm saying right now won't be foreign to you. Because, and that thought may have occurred to you when I said that. You may have thought, oh, well, oneness. Yeah, that is the concept of oneness, is that you are a part of a whole. God's energy, universal energy, is very vast, and we're all a part of it. And I always use the example of the pie. if you cut a slice of pie and you hand it to somebody, what are you going to say to them? Are you going to say to them, this is a hammer? No, you're going to hand it to them and you're going to say, here you go, would you like a piece of pie? It's still pie. So you are a part of that universal energy. You are like a broken off piece of the whole, but you are still the whole. That is still what you are. So that universal energy is what we also refer to as God. You are still that. Just because you're just a slice of it doesn't mean you're not that anymore. You, in fact, are still that. And when you spend time every day, not just pondering, but trying to almost kind of like convince yourself of the possibility even of you being God. And this is something that many people have talked to me and said, when I talk to people, I have to censor myself because, if I say to family members, well, I know I'm God, they're going to want to commit me. You know what I mean? So, because they don't understand from what perspective you may be coming from when you say that. You're coming from the understanding of oneness when you say that. You basically what you're saying to them is, hey, I'm still pie. Because you are. Okay, so one of the powerful things when you have totally merged the three selves is that you are able to even actually speak things into reality, manifest things even by just simply stating something. And it's when you have to become careful of what you say and of what you think, because you could accidentally manifest things you don't mean to. So you even have to be very careful at that point of getting angry at somebody or getting into a fight and getting angry with someone and wishing them harm because you're so mad at them. You have to be careful of that, because in fact you can end up accidentally doing them harm in some way. So anyway, that is one of the hugest benefits of merging with the three selves. The other aspects, the other reasons why you would want to merge with the higher self is because living life as the higher self versus as the lesser self, you often tend to have this higher level of understanding of things when things are happening around you, to you. You notice that they are not having as big of an emotional impact on you, because there is this understanding that you now have. It's kind of like, oh, okay, I'm not upset about it because I get it. I understand this. I understand why this may be going on. I may not like it still, but I understand it. The other, one of the other benefits is that you have, you are able to affect change in people and situations in a much easier way, often by just being present, just being around people. You will be able to affect change in others. For example, somebody will call you, maybe a friend will call you on the phone, and they'll talk to you about an issue or a problem they have. And then suddenly things are cleared up for them. After having this conversation with you about it, suddenly it seems to clear the way. The resolutions start happening. Seemingly almost magically. And so many times people will say to you, oh, you wouldn't believe what happened. Right after I got off the phone with you, my phone just starts ringing off the hook. First I get a call from this company, then I get a call from this place, then I get a call, and just things are just happening and coming together. That is often what happens when you are dealing with someone who is not only merged with their higher selves, but they've done it through spiritual work. They've basically done it in a way that's similar to if you had a goal of becoming enlightened. So not only are they merged with their higher selves, but they also have the power of having sitting at a much higher vibration, so that they more easily affect change. They become basically a much more powerful light. Now, I get many emails from people that are either working on metaphysics or working on Reiki energy work that say to me, but tell me how to become powerful. And it's amazing to me sometimes. I'm like, I've spoken on these subjects so many times, and many people don't realize, well, I've already given you the keys. I've already talked about these things. I've already done the videos telling you how to do them. And it's like you don't realize that I gave you the key to ultimate power. I gave it to you. However, I think many people are thinking they're looking for something maybe a little bit more obvious and easier. But they're usually looking for something a little bit more obvious. It wouldn't be obvious to most people that merging with the higher self, merging the three selves, equals power. Equals that ultimate power they would be looking for. It's not obvious. You probably have heard many people talk about the higher self, and maybe it wasn't until now, it wasn't obvious to you that was the key to ultimate freedom while you're still living on earth in the body. So now when you hear people, and it's funny, sometimes on YouTube when I see people going through things, and people just like love to do these YouTube videos where they're going through things and they're on the YouTube video just crying and bawling or getting upset, cursing people out, and they're going through their issues and they filmed it so you can see it. And it kind of makes me go, because this person maybe 8 months ago made a video telling everybody about merging with the higher self. Not merging, but made a video about manifesting the higher keys to manifesting the higher self, telling you about how they had done it and how wonderful it is to sit in the position they're at. And now 8 months later, they're showing where they're really at, and that they thought they had adequately merged with the higher self. I'm sure they thought they did, but in reality, they didn't. They thought they did, but that happens often when you're not 100% fully aware of what that thing is. Just like when I was searching for the merging of the three selves. I was guided to do that. I don't even know where I got that from. I'm sure I must have gotten it from somewhere. I'm sure I must have read it somewhere, merging of the three selves. But I didn't really know what it was when I started searching for it. So imagine trying to search for something without knowing what it is. It's like saying I'm searching for a hammer, but you don't know what a hammer is. You know what I mean? Like, if you were new to this world, let's say you were an alien and you were new to this world, and somebody said you must find a hammer. But what is a hammer? But you'd still go searching for it, right? And you'd be like, you could see all these tools. How are you going to know which one is the hammer? So you might pick up the screwdriver and go, oh, this one must be the hammer. Because you wouldn't know. Okay, so that's how it was when I was searching for information on merging with the three selves. So just remember that for future reference, not just with what we're talking about today and the higher self and merging with the three selves, but all things. Sometimes you just you're looking for something, you're searching for something. But the fact of the matter is, you may not be 100% sure of what it is. What is it going to look like when you find it? You don't know. So how are you going to know when you find it? So it can make searching for the answers you need tough. This is also why it's awesome once you have merged with your higher self. Why? Is because your higher self can help you with everything. Now, this is the other benefit that I'm going to tell you about that I've actually used quite often, and I use it all the time. You wouldn't believe what my higher self has helped me to do. My higher self has helped me to write code for my website, other people's websites when I used to do consulting work. I one time was doing consulting work and helping somebody develop and write code for their Salesforce. I don't know if any of you know what Salesforce is. It's a database, and I was helping them to work on and develop not only the database but the user interface part of it and how it worked and everything, to make it more user friendly, like an app. I remember when I would get stuck because I'm not trained in Salesforce, and Salesforce uses a unique code called Apex, which was unique to Salesforce. So this wasn't code I knew. And so often as I was working on it, sometimes I would get stuck. And I would sit there for an hour trying to figure it out, couldn't get it to do what I wanted. And so finally, I would just say, you know what? I'm going to lay down, I'm going to take a nap. And I would tell my higher self, let me have a dream where I'm actually doing the solution to this. And let me see it as though I'm looking over my own shoulder as I do it. And sure enough, I would have the dream. I would wake up and I would think to myself and I would go, oh, I wonder if that would actually work. And I would try it, and lo and behold, that would be the solution, and it would work. I do the same thing when it comes to working on my website. Many times people ask me how I was able to create some of the things I created on there, like the Reiki certificate creator and all the code that I wrote to create that. It's not that I'm some programming genius, because I'm not. My higher self helped me do that. I don't actually have the skills to do that, but my higher self knows everything. So in fact, I used my higher self to create that. Yeah, there were times that I got stuck and I wanted to hire someone and I couldn't find anyone to do the work for me for under like $300. And, my higher self just kept reassuring me, it's okay. I can help you figure this out. And sure enough, I listened to my higher self, and my higher self, every time I got stuck and I thought this is as far as I can go, my higher self gave me the answers that I needed for me to keep going and to finally, in the end, not only finish it, but actually implement things by writing the code for it that I didn't even think I could possibly do. So I've not only used my higher self to help me find answers for things I'm working on, but also when I was doing consulting work for other people. Also, in correspondence, in writing, communicating. Often it is my higher self that, like, sometimes when I answer a person's question, even when it's in business and doing consulting work, and I would come out with these answers that would make people be like, wow, that was so awesome. Like, that was my higher self. That was my higher self allowing me to do this. So, I would almost say that merging with your higher self ups your IQ. That's what I would say. Okay, now I realize it's going on 25 minutes in this video, and this video is titled, keys to manifesting your higher self. And I realize you're probably saying, okay, it's been almost 25 minutes and you haven't told me anything yet. And I apologize. It's just that some of these things were important for you to understand. So I really appreciate you bearing with me here. Now remember, if you're looking for me, sherryspeaks.com. Remember to like and share. Okay, so now, and I am going to put in the description where the conversation starts as far as when I get to the nitty gritty, because you can always go back and listen to the first part of this video later. So I will do that for you, for everyone. Okay, so here we go. Keys to manifesting / merging with the higher self, or merging the three selves. Okay, I'm telling you from my own personal experience of having done it, not reading about it, but actually having done it and having had to figure it out all on my own. Okay, so one important thing that I must emphasize, and please don't let anybody tell you different, if you're actually going to merge completely with your higher self, like I did, you cannot do that without spiritual work. And by spiritual work, I mean like daily, tenacious spiritual work where you're using prayer, mantras, decrees, where you may have your set of them that you're going to say for a period of time. And I can give you an example just so you know I don't kind of leave you hanging on this. Okay, here's an example. I can tell you exactly what I used to do. I would say almost all the decrees from the book The Human Aura by Elizabeth Clare Prophet. Literally almost every decree that's in that book, and there are a lot, I would say almost every one of them, which most of them have to be said in threes, meaning like that the violet flame decree is in there, so like literally when you go to say the violet flame decree, you would have to say it 3 times. So every decree either has to be said 3 times. Some of the decrees are a little bit more, are longer and more complex, where parts of them have to be said 3 times. Other parts of them have to be said 9 times. There's a visualization aspect to it as well. Some of the decrees you have to hold visuals, and some of the visuals you're really going to have to hang in there because they're complex visuals that you have to hold. Some of them, what I mean by that is you're visualizing this while at the same time that, while at the same time that, while also saying the decree. Now, you just don't worry about, if you feel like you can't really do it well, it's still going to be very impactful. This isn't something where if you don't do it well, it's not going to work. No, it's still very impactful, even if you're not great at it when you first start, saying them. Okay, so that's the first thing I would do. The next thing is I would spend a good portion of the day either out loud, and make no mistake, when I'm saying say decrees, say mantras, pray, I am meaning out loud. So the next thing I would do is I would all throughout the day be saying the violet flame decree either out loud, or if I was out and about somewhere, quietly to myself in my own head. But I would continue saying it. I wouldn't stop. Now, in the beginning, it's hard to keep something like that going. Your mind isn't even used to you doing something like this. You have to keep reminding yourself, when you stop saying it, you have to keep reminding yourself basically to start saying it again. But after a while, it gets easier. Okay, so also, and here, let me give you the reason why it's the violet flame decree that I said so much, is because The violet flame decree helps negate karma, and you really need to work on lightening your load. And what I mean by that, whatever you've got in your karmic account, because that affects how high, how advanced you can go, the level you can take your vibrations to. You can think of what's in your karmic account as creating a ceiling. You know how if you are working a job and for the position you have, when it comes to salary, there's a certain ceiling. And yeah, they can give you raises, but maybe the max salary you can get in that position is, let's say, $40,000. So maybe you're sitting at 30,000, 35,000 right now. So maybe you've only got $5,000 more to go before you hit that ceiling. Okay, I would say clearing up your karmic account is likened to raising the ceiling. So, negate some of your karma. Maybe you'll raise that ceiling from 40,000 to 50,000. So now you can go even higher. But the more karma you have, the more limited you are when it comes to really attaining a certain vibratory level that maybe you're trying to attain, or maybe even just simply trying to attain enlightenment. Or you may feel like I feel like I'm stuck. Many people say that. I feel like I've hit some wall, some ceiling. I feel like I'm stuck. I feel like I must have a block somewhere. Well, I do kind of liken karma to being some sort of a block that can stop you from continuing to advance higher. But it's not a big deal. Use the violet flame decree by saying it, and I say the short version, which is, I am a being of violet fire. I am the purity God desires, repeatedly. Now, say it out loud. The thing with decrees is they are called decrees because you are decreeing a thing. It's like basically you're stating what is true. And in stating what is true, you want to be commanding and kind of forceful with it, like a ruler would be. Like if you were the king of a country and you decreed a thing, would you be all timid with it? Like, would you say, okay, everybody has to pay 1 piece of gold in taxes every year? No, you're a ruler. You're maybe a king or a queen. No, you would command it. I command that everyone has to pay 1 piece of gold every year, no questions, anything. Okay, that's how you would do it, right? So when you say decrees, you have to say them in a commanding way and with confidence. And I don't mean loudly. I'm not talking about yelling. I'm talking about saying it with confidence. Confidence, good posture, almost saying it like you have to say it like you totally believe it. Every part of you, say it like every part of you believes what you're saying. Okay? So, the next thing I would do is I would meditate every day. And no, I would not meditate for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. No, I didn't need to. It's not necessary. Meditation, and you can. I'm not knocking it. You can. But I'm just saying it's not absolutely necessary to meditate for long periods of time. Honestly, for most people that do that, unfortunately, they're not attaining more than they would with meditating for 15 minutes. Look, if you can't do a quality meditation for 15 minutes, don't try to do an hour. Start with 15 minutes, because if you can do 15 minutes and do a really good meditation where you are able to reach a level, well, 15, 20 minutes, where you can reach a level where you go deep enough, where you literally, I kind of call it like kind of you blank out. I don't mean you fall asleep. I mean you kind of blank out. You kind of feel like you went somewhere where you were not aware of yourself anymore. You weren't aware of yourself. You weren't aware of your physical body anymore. Where you just went to this place, this void almost. Okay, if you cannot do that, then what are you doing meditating for an hour if you can't do that at all? If you can't get to the right place in meditation, why do it for longer? Okay, that would be like me saying, if I'm trying to come up with a good example. Okay, let's say let's say when kids color, kids when they're young, they're trying to teach them to color within the lines. Now, yes, over time, time and really working at it, you can get better at it. But really, honestly, my skills today are my skills today. So if today I'm really bad and I go outside the lines all the time, whether I color for 5 minutes versus 15 minutes, I'm still going to be doing the same like quality and level of coloring. You know what I mean? I'm just going to do it badly for a longer period of time, is what I'm getting at. So what I'm saying is seriously consider this. If you can't attain the level and the depth you need to with meditation, ask your own higher self that question. Do I really want to do it badly for a longer period of time? Or do I want to kind of scale it back, do 15, 20 minutes, attain being able to reach the right level in meditation before I do it for a longer period of time? I'm just saying, check with your own higher self. You don't have to listen to me. Check with your own higher self. Okay, so that was the other thing I would do. I would do anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes of meditation. Sometimes the meditation would be going really, really well, and time would just stand still, and those are those times where I would end up doing the 30 minutes and it would feel like I only did 5 minutes. That's because you hit this, like I call it like almost like a void. I don't know. I think it's referred to as zero. Some people refer to it as 0 point energy. It's where you hit this place where literally time stands still, everything stands still. It's like you hit this void area where there is, you hit that ultimate nothingness. Usually when I would, hit that, I would meditate for longer, not on purpose, but quite by accident. Because literally, time wasn't moving for me. And literally, I would get out of meditation and I would feel like only 5 minutes had gone by, even though 30 minutes had. Okay, so now here's the last thing I'm going to tell you about my daily spiritual practice. My daily spiritual practice that led me to merging with my higher self actually took me 4 to 5 hours of decreeing and praying. Oh, and by the way, the prayer that I said often when I wasn't saying the violet flame decree, I actually said the violet flame decree for quite a few months. That was one of the things that I was using a lot. And after that, what I started using was the Hail Mary prayer, repeatedly saying it all the time, out loud, quietly in my head, all day, every day. I would go someplace. If I would go to my parents' house, I'd be still saying it inside my head as they'd be talking to me, and I'd be talking, responding back to them, having a conversation with them. I'd still be saying it in my head. You'll get good at that. I call it splitting your focus. You'll get good at doing that and literally be able to easily do it. For literally, it took me, and that's why I'm saying be very careful when you're listening to people talk about the higher self and merging with the higher self and tapping into the higher self. If they're telling you that all you have to do is just police your emotions, pay attention, be in a good place, they haven't merged with their higher self. Because if that's all they think it is, they haven't done it. And so after listening to me tell you what it took me to do it, now you'll be able to recognize when you're listening to somebody and trying to learn from somebody who really knows what they're talking about and who can really teach you how to get there, because that is really important. You don't want to really waste any time getting help from people that can't get you there. And I'm not saying that to say anything bad about them. I'm saying that for you to protect your own self so that you're not wasting your time. You want people to help you that, first of all, you're guided to. You will always, if you ask for guidance, you'll always be guided to the person that can help you, that has the answers for you. If you ask and then patiently wait, but often what happens is you force the issue. Stop forcing the issue. Stop pushing. Because often what happens is you want it now, you want it now, you want it now. And so you push and you go out there and you look for the answer. You look for the person to help you. Instead of asking God or your higher self, guide me to the person who can help me. Guide that person to me. And then patiently waiting. Patiently waiting to listen and to hear what you need to do, who you need to go to. Often the problem is that you want it now. Well, I've said this to people before, but what if you can't have it now? And maybe there's a reason why, unbeknownst to you. What if? You have to be okay with that. And if you're not, that is something in the meantime that you need to be working on. Is the things that you're okay with. If there's a lot in your life that you got to control, that you're just not okay with, you got to work on that. You really need to work on that, because often pushing to get what you want often doesn't get you what you want. It often gets you what looks like what you want at first on the surface that actually turns out to be a disaster in the end. Okay, so I've let you know actually what I did. And okay, the only other thing that I did, that I spent a lot of time doing, and that I still spend a lot of time doing, that will in the end bring it all together for you, that'll really solidify your connection and your relationship with your higher self, is spending a lot of time talking to your higher self. Have you talked to your higher self today? Have you even said good morning to your higher self, chatted with your higher self, told your higher self about your plans for today, what you plan to do, things you're working on? Talk to your higher self like you would talk to a friend. It is your own self. If you can talk to a friend who is not your own self, well, I would think it would be even easier to talk to your own self. It is your truest self. So spend time talking to your higher self. The more time you spend at a higher level, the more quickly you will get to that higher level. So I am telling you, spend as much time as possible talking with, communicating with your higher self, establishing that relationship, because all of your spiritual work you're doing, that is what in the end helps to bring it all together and helps to draw your higher self closer and closer and closer to you, to the point where you won't even, one day, you won't even remember the last time you heard a peep from your negative ego. And that's where you want to get to. Now, in doing what I said, if you actually end up doing this, know that there's so many things and so many experiences that you're going to have that I haven't even talked about that are going to just kind of amaze you. What you're able to do and to attain, to create, to manifest will totally amaze you. The life you end up living will be awesome. Will be totally awesome. Even if you're not taking this really, really, really far and going all the way to enlightenment, even if you're not going that far, even if you're just going to the point of merging with the higher self, believe me, you are going to be amazed at what your life turns into, the amazing life that you end up living. It's truly the best thing that I ever did in my whole life. I mean, I say that about having my son, but this is truly the thing that I think not only turned my life around, but I think that saved my life. I'm not so sure that I would still be here if it wasn't for, my spiritual goals that I had, that I worked on, such as merging with my higher self. I'm not so sure if I hadn't listened to that guidance and turned down that right road, I don't think I would still be here right now. I think that was a deciding factor in my life. That was in my life a coming to a fork in the road, where had I not chosen the path I did, the other path would have led me to not even be here right now. I mean, literally, I really truly believe that. So I've given you the keys. If all you do is do nothing else and take what I've given you and faithfully do it every day. Now, of course, I'm not telling you got to start out doing 4 or 5 hours of spiritual work, every day right off the bat. No, because I didn't start that way. I started, literally, I kept incorporating more and more things. So I started out with just doing like meditating for 15-20 minutes, and then spending about 15-20 minutes saying the Violet Flame Decree, maybe another 15 minutes saying the Hail Mary prayer. So I started with probably doing less than an hour's worth of spiritual work every day, and then I started reading the book The Human Aura, and as I read along, every decree I came to, I added that in. I said, okay, now I'm going to start saying this decree every day. And as I read the book and went along, I kept adding all the decrees that were in it until eventually I was saying all the decrees that were in the book. So I'm not saying you have to start with 4 to 5 hours a day of spiritual work, but make no mistake about it, if we're talking about not just being able to hear your higher self, but actually merging with and becoming one with your higher self, the merging of the 3 selves, you cannot do that without daily spiritual work. Anything worth gaining is worth working for. And if I can do it, you can do it. If it's possible that I achieved it, I know you can achieve it. Well, thank you for listening, and thank you for being patient with me as I attempted to include everything that I felt was important for you to know, realize, and understand. I hope you have a wonderful day. Remember, you can find me at sherryspeaks.com. There, you can, I have a little under 90 attunements. Many of them are at $2.50. They are in course form. I always have a couple of free ones that I'm giving. So if you go to the home page and scroll down just a little bit, you'll see the free ones. Also, there is the Reiki Certificate Creator, where you could pick like which certificate you want to make. You could even make one that includes your own logo for your students, your Reiki students, and you can, it allows you to put your information in for the certificate and immediately see a proof, pay the $1.75 for it, which is how much it is right now, and get the PDF version. And they are beautiful, and beautiful graphic certificates. Also, there's a lot to read there. Metaphysical post, spiritual post, things on symbolism, empathy, a little bit of everything that you can read and learn there. And also my third eye course is there. So that's where you can find me. That's what you can find at the website. Remember to subscribe and like. I appreciate you very much. I hope you have a wonderful day. Namaste.